Macy Greenwood, guys. Macy Greenwood for the Jamaican Reggae Boyz. As you know, today there was an article out in the Jamaican Observer, and the forces at being are now rearing their ugly heads about this player potentially playing for the Jamaican Reggae Boyz. They have brought up the issues surrounding sponsorship. Will the Reggae Boyz lose their sponsorship deals if the player represents Jamaica? No. My sources are telling me that the manager of the Jamaican Reggae Girls, she is one individual who is very adamant and is very against the idea of Mason Greenwood representing Jamaica. But my question is, does the Reggae Girls decide who represents the Jamaican Reggae Boyz? I do understand that the JFF will have to play this one very safe. They can't just do this one out there and not approach it with caution. However, the player was not convicted in the court of law, hence he still has a clean record. Now, are we using the court of public opinion to determine whether or not this player represents Jamaica? How I think the JFF should approach this before getting the player to play for Jamaica, because let me let you know this, guys, the player has confirmed that he wants to represent Jamaica. My sources has told me that the player has confirmed, and they are in the works of getting the player's documents together. No, that's just one hurdle. I think the major hurdle is going to be the private sector and the Reggae Girls team. I think this is where the discussion is going to be had, and this is going to be the front line where this battle is going to be fought. Now, how the JFF should approach this? First off, they spoke about stakeholders in the Jamaica Observer, which are the fans. The JFF should try to get a national poll out there so fans can vote and let the fans decide if they want that player to represent Jamaica. As we know, the player is a very good player. He is quality, and Jamaica needs quality. And I also believe in the player getting a second chance. Well, if you look at it, he's not really getting a second chance, because if he wasn't convicted, then basically he has a clean slate. But we know how social media works and cancel culture works. No, a poll should be out there that the fans can have their say on whether or not the player should play for Jamaica. Next step, the Jamaica Football Federation should have a discussion with Adidas, who is one of our marquee and our main sponsorship, to let them give us a written statement stating that based on the player not being convicted, he is allowed to represent Jamaica internationally. So we would have got those two things solved, where the fans decide, and the fans, I can guarantee that a good 80 to 90% of fans would want Macy Greenwood to represent Jamaica. Let's say we got some good results there and the fans decide that he should play. Adidas also give the fans, the player, the go ahead. No, we will have to, the JFF will have to sit with the Reggae Girls, as you know how this whole thing goes, as it affected women, and it was a man and a woman involved, and we have to take in consideration that the football is being played by both genders. No, the JFF will have to sit down with whoever is in charge of the Reggae Girls and some of the leaders of the team with the in the Reggae Girls side of the football, and let their voice be heard. Are they okay with the player coming in? Then they will have to sit with the private sector and the other sponsors. But I think before they sit with the private sector, they need to have that letter from Adidas stating that it's okay for the player to play for Jamaica, because then they will have some legs to stand on. See, say, here, one of our main sponsors, Adidas, has no problem with the player represent Jamaica. Ultimately, if all is clear and it comes down to where it's just the manager of the Jamaica Football Federation and some other entities in Jamaica who are against Macy Greenwood playing, this is where the JFF will have to take a stand and ultimately let the player play. play, because we have to decide, the JFF will have to decide that. As we also know, there are people within the JFF who wanted to be anonymous in this article with the Observer. So these are forces that are basically against Mike Ricketts and the JFF. As you know, election is drawing near, but maybe Mike Ricketts wouldn't want to touch this one until after the elections, because I think they could use this one to basically come up against him, saying he doesn't make good decisions and he's willing to do this. And so maybe Mike Ricketts want to be very cautious and very strategic in the way they approach this one. But ultimately, they should have a poll where the fans, a national poll where fans can vote and have their say on whether Mason Greenwood should play for Jamaica. Then they should have a letter from Adidas stating whether or not the player is cleared to play, and they will still continue to sponsor Jamaica. It won't affect the sponsorship. Then they can take that to the private sector, and then they also need to sit down with the Reggae Girls and the management of the Reggae Girls. As we know, if they're trying to stonewall the operation, the JFF will have to let the Reggae Girls know that the Reggae Girls don't decide who plays for the Reggae Boys. At the end of the day, they fall under the JFF, but it's two different teams. It's two different teams. Male football and female football is two different things. As you know, Kevin Keegan, the ex-English coach, he's coming under a lot of backlash right now for saying that he feels uncomfortable with females commentating on male football. And here is where we're going to get to that right now, because this is where we're going to have this battle again, because the females are going to look at it from a side of abuse and what was in the media. But who do we take for it here? Do we listen to the court of law where he was not convicted, or we go off emotions and the court of public opinion? However, the JFF will have to play this one very safe, but ultimately it should lead to Mason Greenwood getting a chance to represent Jamaica, because then if the player has no record and he's eligible to play for Jamaica, the only thing that they're using to hold him then would be the court of public opinion. And the court of public opinion, it holds sway in the court of public opinion. It's actually not law. So the JFF, I think Dennis Chung and all these guys, they're smart enough and they need to come up with a way how to fix this and go forward, because the player has confirmed that he's ready to play for Jamaica. I can guarantee you that my sources definitely confirm that with me. Also, Mr. Rudolph Speed, I think they will do the right thing. But ultimately, I think that based on my observation and the comment section from the fans doing shows day in, day out, all the fans want Mason Greenwood to represent Jamaica. So let's see how this one play out, guys, ultimately. And we will be back and we'll give you guys some more updates on this one. Thank you for tuning into Sports Prophecy. I'm your host, Jay Taylor. Until next time.